Good afternoon. I'm going to try portrait today instead of landscape. Wait for folks to join up, realize I'm online, and then we'll get started. Summer fedora today. Temperatures are a little bit more normal. I'm enjoying a cold, sparkly one instead of a hot coffee. Good afternoon. There's Nancy. Much obliged that you pop in. Let me go ahead. I don't do that often, but I'll wave. Okay, so it's, sorry for the jitteriness. I keep forgetting. Keep your arms off the desk. These wonderful gooseneck phone holders are great as long as you don't breathe hard. It is July 2nd, 2020. Good afternoon once again. It's another coffee break live update from yours truly here in the UK. And I'll welcome one and all. I'll just wait for a few seconds to see if other people are showing up. Maybe they're making a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Hey, there's my buddy from Pennsylvania. Hi there, man. How you doing? Glad to see you here, Carl. And Jan, and who else is around? Oh, well, anyway, the subject du jour is what I posted earlier this morning, is that there has been a very strange disturbance in the force of late. And it's not just yours truly that has noticed it or has experienced it directly. On my birthday, Tuesday the 30th, things got, it was a great day. Everything was going great for my birthday. And then all of a sudden around, I don't know, it was about late afternoon, 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that, local time. Here in the UK, that would have been about noon on the East Coast in the US. All of a sudden I had this real intense pain, lower abdominal pain. And how should we say it? It couldn't be ignored. And I thought, well, what did I have for lunch? What did I have for breakfast? And there was nothing unusual. I mean, I'm 98% vegetarian, almost, well, I should say 90% vegan, but totally vegetarian. We didn't make anything that was, out of date or spoiled or anything like that. And so I was baffled. I felt like, oh my God, this feels like a stomach flu or a low intestinal flu. And all of a sudden it ran through my mind, oh God, did I catch it? Did I catch the dreaded thing that's been out there? And I checked in, it's like one of those situations that pops up and you go, hey, Spirit, what's this about? What should I do? And it's like, don't worry, you don't have it. So I went, okay. So after many uncomfortable hours, I just kind of figured this is something that will pass, to coin a phrase. And then the next morning I woke up feeling like I had been in a back alley fight, and I had a huge soreness on the right hand side, and from the aluminum. Somebody else from Pennsylvania just chimed in. Maybe this was all because of that aluminum hat I had on my birthday, the tinfoil hat. No, I don't think so, Emma. And so I had this migraine kind of thing happening all day long. Well, on the same day, in the same morning, somebody I know in New Jersey was complaining about, over the last 48 hours or 36 hours or so, laptop battery died, lithium battery died, a bunch of other things wouldn't work right. Whole laptop died over the weekend, had to get that replaced, and then something else happened with a new laptop battery. Other people have been complaining about tech issues. We've been having them here. With two computers that have been completely, installed new hard drives, solid state drives and everything. And all of a sudden, as soon as you go on Zoom, you can't get off of it. You can't close it. You can't end it. And the whole thing freezes up. I'm like, what the heck's going on? This was Monday and Tuesday predominantly, and Wednesday, and also yesterday. So I put it out there this morning to anybody who would, hey, have you been having similar experiences, besides a couple of my sort of close friends, I guess, on Facebook. And I got a flood of things back. Migraines, dizzy spells. That was the other thing that I had discussion with somebody here locally yesterday. The sudden feeling of like vertigo or feeling like you were going to tip over, just kind of like, whew. Now I've had that before many times, especially during Kundalini awakening and also during times of high solar activity, like, coronal mass ejections, sunspot activity, distortions in the Earth's magnetic field because of CMEs hitting it from the sun. But this wasn't, this was different. The sun's in huge, huge, deep solar minimum, no sunspot activity, nothing going on of that kind. And after people started feeding back this morning to, my statement, is anybody feeling anything unusual? What's going on out there? All of a sudden it dawned on me that I remembered seeing an article back on the 25th. And some of the people had said this all started for them on the 23rd. So I just went, okay, time to do a little sleuthing and check in and find out what's happening in the force. Why is there a disturbance in the force? And it's affecting people in spite of what the astrological aspects would say. So on the 23rd of June, this is what happened. Earth's normally very quiet right now, especially because of the solar minimum cycle. Quiet magnetic field was unexpectedly disturbed by a wave of magnetism that rippled around pretty much all of the globe. There was no solar storm or geomagnetic storm to cause the disturbance, so astrophysicists are baffled. So it's been, very quiet, active-wise. The sun is in the pits of what may be the deepest solar minimum in over a century, and geomagnetic storms just aren't happening. But what happened is this magnetic wave that rippled around the entire planet, and it went through Preston, UK on the 23rd, was like a sine wave. Now, if you've ever seen a picture of an oscilloscope or the waveform of a particular note or frequency in sound, it's a very even up and down. The peaks and the valleys are always the same. They're consistent. Earth's magnetic field is rather inconsistent. It's a PC5 wave is what they call it on a magnetometer. So it's like all over the place. So pardon my explanation here. And then all of a sudden at 6:36 in the morning, British summertime on the 23rd, it started going like that. Very peaks up to 600 and minus 600, up to 600, minus 600 for the better part of almost 45 minutes, 35 minutes, something like that. And there was no uptick in solar wind speed. There was nothing else going on. So what space physicists or astrophysicists call this phenomenon is a pulsation continuous, or PC. Solar winds usually have an effect on the magnetosphere like this. But during a quiet solar minimum such as we have right now, these waves can actually be heard as a sonic event, all right? So it's like a pin dropping in a very quiet room is the way they describe it. So we don't know, or they don't know, what causes these things. But it was so quiet, the magnetic field was so quiet on the 23rd, this ripple was heard all around the world from different observatories and listening stations, from Hawaii to China to the Arctic Circle and even in Antarctica. Now, why am I barking up this tree? Well, a lot of what is going on right now can be sort of pegged to astrological influences, but not everything. Now, on the 23rd, there was an event. We had Neptune completely stationing, stopped dead in its tracks because of the wobble of the Earth's axis, and start going backwards. It went into reverse motion at 5:07 a.m., and then this anomaly showed up at 6:46 a.m., all right? So there is sort of a correlation that we can look at. On the 25th, excuse me, I have to work this software here. On the 25th, nothing untoward or significant at that point in time. But we fast forward to the 30th. Well, there were a couple things. Mars had just entered, on the 28th, had just entered Aries. It was at 1 degree of Aries. Neptune retrograded 20 degrees Pisces. But we had, at exactly 5:07 in the morning, Pluto and Jupiter conjunct in Capricorn, but retrograde. Now, Capricorn or Saturnian type events can actually be felt physically at times. They can affect bones, they can affect muscles, tendons, central nervous system stuff occasionally. Gastrointestinal, I think so. I think this falls into that category of gastrointestinal stress. Why do I think that? Well, in this case, it's Jupiter pulling one direction, Pluto pulling the other, and something deep in the gut, i.e. third chakra, second chakra, first chakra. It's sort of like something got disturbed in the electromagnetic field, and then that kicked over into this astrological influence, and something triggered in the etheric or the astral, or some frequency wave or dimension very close to ours. And the etheric and astral body will pick up on things much quicker than our conscious minds will, and will evidence it in the physical body. I kiddingly said, well, maybe this turn, this second conjunction that was retrograde with Pluto and Jupiter, combined with the Neptune retro, combined with the magnetic field anomaly, kind of sets things up in people who are sensitive enough to feel it, a sense of being shit scared, being knocked around, feeling put upon or pressured, or creating a purging effect within the within the physical system itself. Purging at the etheric level, purging at the cellular level, and then purging at organ level. So a lot of people are saying right now, or a couple of people who mentioned that this morning, said they're having to eat very lightly or fast, feeling to fast. I've also heard that during solar eclipses, people, which happened on the 21st of June, people like to fast or spend time fasting during that because it's such a high energy event. All this aside, we have to remember in a solar minimum cycle, our Earth's magnetic field is not protecting us from gamma radiation and deep space stuff as effectively as it used to. The magnetic field is weakening constantly. Maybe this sine wave or PC wave event is a precursor for something like a magnetic pole shift. I don't know. I'm not trying to put any fear of God stuff out there, or fear of the planet. But how should we say it? We don't live in unusual normal time or usual normal times. We live in unusual, somewhat chaotic and unpredictable times. And so as such, it's important to recognize that when these events, when you start feeling things that are out of the ordinary, it's time to stop and listen to your body, listen to yourself, listen and ask questions of yourself as to what is going on and how best to ameliorate the effects, how best to mitigate them, or to at least go with them. Don't fight them. That only makes it worse. So that said, spiritual hygiene is an area that I've been very much devoted to, and especially working with clients and when I used to do the mystery schools and so forth. And that means anything in your environment can actually affect you energetically and your mental, emotional balance and your psychic balance and so forth. So maybe it's good to recognize that if you are feeling affected by difficult or adverse astrological transits or effects, I can help with that. I have some tools that you can avail yourself of, so get in touch with me. Hello, everybody. A lot of people have joined the party. There's Renee. There's Kathleen Evans. There's Lou. Thanks for joining. So, having the right tools and having the right attitude about using the tools and not becoming too dependent on them, but use them when necessary, is part of self-love. It's part of self-care. It's part of becoming more and more self-aware without putting pressure on yourself. It's like, this seeming task of becoming more and more conscious shouldn't be pushed. This is something the Taoists were very emphatic about. You do not push or chase after spiritual enlightenment. You do not accelerate faster than what you can absorb and integrate at any given time, or you're going to be bringing on yourself a world of hurt. So it's very, very essential not to get into a place of over anxiousness about where you are in your development or your evolution, the planet and these events will trip you up. They'll slow you down on purpose because maybe you're going too fast, or maybe you're not paying attention to something you need to be paying attention to. And there is my breath guru. Hello out there, Mr. Alan Dolan. I was just going to get to this too. It's funny you just showed up. Deep, slow abdominal breathing, especially, taking in lots of oxygen and exhaling, that can bring you into a place of equilibrium. It can help calm and soothe the central nervous system, which of course relaxes all the parasympathetic responses, and then, hi Alan, and then all the organ systems can then just relax more, okay, to what needs to happen, to what's going on. Do not fight the force, basically. Do not resist what's going on, because it only makes it more emphatic. Hello, Cheryl. Thanks for joining. And David. So there is something going on, and this is going to be ongoing, I think, building up to the lunar eclipse this weekend. I think that's part of it. The other thing that's a lot of people are saying about the effect of Mars in Aries, we're just getting started. Till Mars hits 3 degrees Aries, we really don't know what this is going to feel like over the long haul. I spoke about it in depth on Tuesday, but a lot of people, a lot of astrologers are saying this is a time not to become overreactive, try to remain calm as possible. But Mars in Aries is also relentless, so do not invalidate any emotions of anger, frustration, or a feeling of get out of my way, I'm not going to be held down, I'm not going to be straitjacketed, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to put up with injustice, unfair restriction, things of this nature. And it's really important to acknowledge this energy and not bypass it, not spiritually bypass it and say, oh, well, that's just lower energy or something like that. And that's just, that's just part of that grab it and go kind of energy. It's like, I'm going to get what I want and the heck with the rest of you. There is a purpose to these aspects, which live inside of ourselves. They're part of the yin-yang milieu. It's the context that everything lives in, yin and yang. So breath work, Epsom salt baths, if you can tolerate things like Dead Sea salt baths or Himalayan salt baths, great. Anything that supports the central nervous system, deep, slow, deliberate, conscious breathing or breath work. I refer again, or this isn't an infomercial, but one of the best in the business is Alan Dolan. Look up breathguru.com. I've had a session or two with him. He's fantastic up in Scotland, and it's I have some tools and techniques I can share. Everybody's got something that will work for you individually. You have to be the one to decide, yeah, this is for me, or no, it's not. And you go through that process of elimination and experiment. Do not just, go into getting something from someone or buying something from someone and saying, hey, yeah, this is really, this is what everybody else is getting, so this must work for me. That's not the way to go about doing that. That's capitalistic marketing. That's spiritual capitalism. I don't go down that route. I go down, it's like, stop and listen to your spirit and ask, what is appropriate for me? Is it this? No. Is it this? No. Is it this? Yeah, do that. And then see how the effects or the results work for you. Somebody else is chiming in. Oh, it's my buddy in Allentown, in PA, wreaking havoc with my arthritic joints, among other things. Well, again, I mentioned Capricorn, joints, tendons, connective tissue, the skeletal system itself, the spine. Having an out of alignment spine can cause GI interference, gastrointestinal interference, or can put your body into spasm. If your muscles are in spasm, my God, you can feel absolutely miserable and not understand why. Headaches are usually a sign of extreme tension or extreme stress, anxiety, and so forth. So what else can I say about this? From a spiritual standpoint, or from should we say a cosmic standpoint, we're getting a full brunt of cosmic energy and data and protonic energy and so forth coming in shielded. You know, it's like shields are pretty much weak as heck right now. So our biology is responding and reacting to what this influx is coming in from deep space, all right, from headquarters, galactic core. It's the subtle energy, the subtlest energies that can affect us the deepest, that can have the greatest and most profound shifts in terms of electric, magnetic, and cellular processes. This has been true throughout the history of the planet. And yeah, I mean, look what wiped out the dinosaurs, an asteroid hit. So to say that deep space doesn't affect Earth is to be a little bit silly, all right? A little short-sighted, that we are not influenced also by what we cannot see. Not just the electromagnetic spectrum, but life forms in other dimensions that interface or overlap with ours. So we are becoming more and more aware of those things, and if we open ourselves to educating ourselves and to looking at these things and asking questions and delving into them objectively, then the fear factor is kept at a minimum of, you know, thinking somehow that any of this stuff is more powerful and more pervasive than your own spirit is the first thing to set aside. This idea of, you know, I'm a victim, okay? The universe just doesn't operate that way. In the most altruistic sense, in the sense of the absolute interfacing with the relative realm. So we've got a lot on our plate between now and the eclipse. In fact, I wanted to mention the eclipse because, hey, that's next on the horizon here, July 4th, July 5th. It'll happen July 4th in the United States, which is their Independence Day. It occurs at 13 degrees of Capricorn. And again, this is really interesting, at approximately 5 a.m. UK time. All right, so we have all these 5 a.m. hits over the last 2.5 weeks, since the last eclipse and the solar eclipse. It's 5 a.m. in the UK, so it's like an early wake-up call, right? I should cast a chart for Washington, D.C., since this is a U.S. event, really, and see what that comes up looking like. Pluto and Jupiter will still be conjunct at 23 Capricorn now. They've both retrograded back together. They're in lockstep. Pallas Athena there too. And the moon will be in Capricorn, of course, at the time of the eclipse. So the Capricorn-Pluto influence there. Mars will be coming up to 4 degrees of Aries on the 4th. So it's really an interesting time. So in the U.S., it'll be happening on the West Coast at 9 p.m. on the 4th, 5:07 a.m. on the 5th in the United Kingdom and Europe. And we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. Venus is very slowly, you know, moving in Gemini. There's Neptune and Pisces, barely motion at all. It's barely moving forward, or backwards, excuse me. Saturn, though, this is the one thing I didn't bring into the fact. We're talking about Saturnian effect of planet Jupiter and planet Pluto being in Capricorn. Saturn, during this whole period that we're speaking about, from like the 23rd of June until the 30th, Saturn has been hanging out right at 0 degrees Aquarius, right on the edge. Now, one of the most amazing things I discovered about astrology, or in my astrological studies about 5-6 years ago, was the anaretic degree. The anaretic degree is the last degree of any sign and the first degree of the next. So it's 29 degrees of any sign plus 0, 0. So Saturn's been sitting there at 0, 0 Saturn almost since that eclipse on the 21st. Well, certainly since the 23rd. And minutes, so 0, 0 and 48 minutes of Aquarius, and gradually going backwards. And it crossed over on the 30th, 1st of July. 30th of June, the 1st of July, crossed over from 0 degrees Aquarius to 29 degrees Capricorn. So today, today is the July, it's at 29 degrees, right now, 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Capricorn. So it's back in the same room as Pluto and Jupiter and Pallas Athena, and it is going to be a player to the, you know, with this eclipse. Now, because it's sat between 0, 0 Aquarius and 29 Capricorn, I think that was a great deal of the astrological impact of what everybody's been feeling the last 48 to 72 hours. So I'm not blaming Saturn, I'm just saying, paying attention to the astrological influence. Do you have to accept it as it is? No. Adverse astrological influences can be ameliorated, they can be mitigated, they can be diffused or made to have less of an effect overall. All right? So, does anybody have any questions out there in the class? Raise your hands, put something in the comments. Any questions you have at all, I am watching, and hopefully I will see what you put up comment-wise about, or maybe you want to say something about some of the things you've been experiencing personally over the last few days, if you want to share. Because it helps us all understand, it helps us come into a place of more balance, all right? And that whole thing about balance and, you know, things that relate to Kundalini awakenings, and certainly I think Uranus and Taurus is going to be part of that over the next 6.5 years. It's kind of, we're going through a global, I mean, Uranus in Aries was sort of like that, but it didn't pan out the way everybody thought it would. But Uranus and Taurus could very well be a global, a trial by fire, all right? A Kundalini awakening is never an easy or tidy affair, all right? So there's going to be a lot of shifts, jolts, and other things going on over the next 6.5 years. And, you know, how should we say it? Uranus being what Uranus is, it's sort of like saying, well, it's for your own good. You're going to be more conscious at the end of it, so stop complaining. That's kind of the way I look at the trickster in this sense. He's also is a real trickster. I mean, in Native American lore, Uranus would equate to a coyote. You know, coyote was he's sort of the thief. He comes in the middle of the night and steals things away. Well, in this case, he's stealing away our sense of what we thought was real and normal in a lot of cases, and what we thought was the way things ought to be, especially as regards to health, food, money, currency, financial things, financial instruments. You know, this is something you see the financial world struggling with, is the fact that Uranus is in this sign, having to do with anything that relates to the subject or to the theme of security, all right, on any level. So all of you out there who have been feeling the effects of this, or chronically or otherwise, I would suggest certainly magnesium uptake, whether that's through Epsom salt baths or taking a supplement, or, you know, raise your peanut butter intake, loads of magnesium in peanuts, and other vegetables as well. Peanuts aren't being a vegetable, but, well, maybe they are. I think they're a legume. They're different from nuts, per se. So I would recommend anything that supports the central nervous system, massage and body work, if you can get it. And in the lockdown, it's pretty much out of commission. But if you can get your partner or somebody, a close family member who maybe knows how to do a little massage, be a great thing. Even to get a foot massage would be an amazing thing. What's this? Oh, okay. Thanks, Carl. Could it be a wake-up call for humankind to get with the program, i.e. save Mother Earth? I think the two things that go together is save ourselves and save Mother Earth. Okay, yeah, right. It is. Spot on. It is part of that wake-up, to realize that we are not disconnected creatures, that we are somehow special and apart from nature and the planet. And to realize that the planet is a living intelligence, is a sentient being. It is autopoietic, i.e. it creates constantly, seemingly without any effort expended. You know, all of her creatures, all of her children on this earth, save one, live here free of charge. Think about that one, okay? We're the only ones that have to pay for our way. The only ones that are told that we have to learn and earn our way. It seems a bit nuts, seems a bit insane. I think this is part of the message of the wake-up, is a better way can be found. It's not Saturn's way. It's not capitalism's way. It's not the Galactic Empire way. It's before the dark times, you know. So we're coming out of that, supposedly, if one has any stock in trade in the Vedic calendar, that the end of the Kali Yuga is around the corner, or has happened already at 2012. But there's always residual consequences. There are always, after effects and ripples to anything. So I would just say, again, like I said in my post this morning, buckle up, Buttercup. It could get a bit bumpy the second half of the year. Uranus, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Mars especially. And, you have to have the right tools for the job, as they say, as Tim the Tool Man would say, woo-hoo, got to be having the right tools for the job. So if you need any support, if you want any support, if you're looking for support, not just astrological, okay? Astrology doesn't do the healing work. Astrology just brings awareness. It's not about, it can be a healing for somebody to realize or recognize or have something reflected back to them from their chart that says, oh, okay, that's who I really am. That's great. Or that's what that was all about. I can let that go. But it's about recognizing, number one, numero uno, that which is sacred is the planet, that which is sacred is you. Your consciousness and you are more powerful than you have ever imagined. And that power is not something that excludes you or makes you better than anybody or anything else. It puts you in the driver's seat to be a force or agent of change within the context of what we're living in right now. So this whole wake-up call, as Carl, thank you very much, stated it, is a wake-up to who we really are, first and foremost, and remembering that, and then seeing that reflected to us by those that are close to us or those that we are in contact with, and so that we can help them remember. That is, that's probably something to just leave it right there. I can just leave it right there with you and say, I'm just here to show you a direction or a way to go, just like what Neo said at the end of the first Matrix movie, I'm going to show them a world without borders, without rules. And where you go with that is up to you, all right? So, this is the best thing, is that anybody who claims to be a teacher should be a teacher that helps you show yourself how to find yourself, how to be yourself. Not to how to be like the teacher, because the teacher is always learning. And I love that at the end of the last Return of the Jedi movie when Yoda said to Luke, the biggest pain of being a master is seeing your pupil or your student go past you, evolve past you. That is your biggest grief and also your biggest joy. So we're all here to help each other become who we came here to be. And that spans time and space and all history and all memory. And I hope that you discover, the dream of who you are and live it 150%. Not as a forced thing, not as a thing that has to be achieved or earned, but as something that is just second nature to who you are. All right? Much love to you all. Have a great eclipse weekend. And we'll come back here on Tuesday and have a debrief, all right? So keep the kettle on and keep the cookies and biscuits and muffins nearby and have a great weekend and enjoy the ride and get in touch if you want some assistance. Signing off from Cambridge in the United Kingdom on July 2nd, 2020. Peace.